In a generator, there are magnets and copper wire. The shaft turns the copper wire, which is inside magnets, which makes a current. This current gets sent to a transformer, which boosts that power, say from 100 watts to 500. And then this power gets sent out to the city or to a house. The advantage and disadvantages of hydro. In hydro, the good things about it is you need clean. It's clean, renewable, and if you've got a big river, it can make a lot of energy. And one other thing is it can make home when Brad gets stuck next to the wall to make homes for fish. The disadvantages is it needs clean water. You can't have lots of sticks where it can jam up the turbine. It needs water. If you're in a remote place where there is not very much water, it won't be able to run. It can harm fish if they get sucked into the turbine, and it can kill the environment when it dams up the water. The explanation for good is it's clean and it doesn't produce any harmful radiation or anything. It's clean and it can make homes for fish when logs get piled up against it. It makes lots of places for the fish to hide in and to live. And then this source here will never run out. It's a water source, so it's renewable and it will carry on going. The bad things it needs clean water, because if it isn't clean water, the branch gets stuck. They can get stuck in the penstocks, or if they go through the penstocks, and get stuck in the turbines. And if fish get sucked in, as you can see, there's a picture of what they can get hurt and die when they get sucked through. I couldn't think of a third question, so I've only got two. So the one is, which is the biggest, which country has the biggest hydro power station? Second, how many watts does a hydro dam produce? So the answer to my question, the world's largest hydro dam is in China. In 2012, it took the world record from Hua Dam. Now the Three Gorges Dam is now the world's largest, the largest dam in the world. The Three Gorges Dam makes most watt. It makes about 22,500 megawatts. It is the highest watt rating in the whole world. Renewable and non-renewable. The difference between renewable and non-renewable energy is that renewable will always be there. It won't run out. And non-renewable is when fossil fuels, it will run out at some stage and we won't be able to carry on using it. So thank you for listening. The Three Gorges Dam in China.
No, the other one.
The one in Hua Dam.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see here. The Three Gorges Dam. Yes. Wall. When they make a dam wall, they block up this earth dam wall where there's a big ravine. They just push sand in, so it blocks off the water. But there's another one which is called the world one, where it's just a free-flowing river, like Three Gorges. They do it step by step. It's just a river that's running through, and they build it step by step. So this is so yeah. And this here are my penstocks. The penstocks go down the water slide, down the slipway, and through these penstocks there goes water to a powerhouse. And in the powerhouse, they've got turbines which are connected to generators. Now that creates electricity, which goes through these power lines, along the power lines to a city.
Have you researched any incidents of a dam wall could actually break
Yeah. Sometimes after a long time, like just a one where the big ravine and they push sand in. After a few years, after like say 10 years, the water erodes the sand and the rocks down, it seeps through, and then at the very front they've got that piece of concrete, and sometimes that concrete there is at some patches aren't as thick, so when the force of the water sometimes breaks it, and
then destruct.
yeah. Okay.
Do they put roads across these walls sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes the smaller ones they don't have roads. It's like a road going around it. But the bigger ones they've got roads across for maintenance. So that if something, so that they can walk across, check if anything's happening. Cookie?
It's not really related, but you were making a machine.
Yeah, the machine, the generator that I was making, it kind of didn't work. So this dam wall here is made out of crack filler. We used what the first type is all in Dutch and we couldn't read it, but it didn't really expand so well. So we bought another can which really expanded really well, and then we took a knife and we hollowed out this centerpiece, and then we took took a piece of cardboard, bent it, we made it like this, and then at the end we took a box like this, and we put it on like that, stuck it on, and then off there we just took a few blobs of glue, tied some glued some string on, and then we had the power lines which were made out of society sticks put together, and then we just put blobs of glue on there, putting the string through.
What about the sand?
And then the sand, we went to East Coast Park to collect a little bit of sand. And then we took wallpaper glue. It's a glue where it's powdered glue, and then you add water to it. And then it becomes like slime. Then you can just put it on the wall for wallpaper, or you can just add stuff to it. So we added sand to it, and then we glued it on.
Yeah. That's a big project.
When they find a crack upstream, they won't really like block it up, but they'll put up like big boulders in the thing where there's water still going through, but the water isn't going so fast. So during that time, they go and they take big cement spray guns and they spray it into those cracks, and they leave it approximately for 2 weeks for it to like properly dry, and then they'll go back with like big tugboats. And they pull the rocks towards the edge of the banks, and then they release the water again to the wall.
I got another question. So, like, if this was a river and it went further, are there sometimes like dam walls that are like specially designed in case if this happens? Like, they can like.
Yeah, at some places, if they do find a crack. They've got further up. They've got big electronic gates where they can close it off, and they let the rest of the water go down to the penstocks until it's only about 6 meters deep. When they can do all the repairs, and they've got multiple gates where they can like release some water into this one, and then they close it and release more water. So they've got about 5, so they can hold up all the water. And then once it's fixed, they open one gate at a time. So that it isn't one big gushing water where it hits the wall really hard. They've got a small impact. Madeline?
But what if it rains on that time when it's like that and it's very heavy rain?
Then they've got problems.
Yeah. Then they have.
That's what I need.
Stalks, they're when their tubes are actually made out of like that thick metal. So they've got sensors. When they every 2 years they can go through and they can check, and if the like metal has gone fray or rusted, they can they've got like gates at the front, or they block off the water, and they can go through they go to the tube, and the parts that are thin, they go back and they put new metal on. They weld thicker metal.
Are there a dam that doesn't make electricity just to store water?
Yeah. There are dams that just store water for like people lower downstream, and sometimes they've just got dams that hold it for because if the water goes downstream, say there's a big waterfall, it can flood people's houses if there's a lot of water. So they make a dam across, and like say every 2 months they release say 25,000 liters of water downstream. So that they've still got water downstream, but just like doesn't flood all the houses.
Oh, Beaver Dam, that be storing water as well, Beaver Dam? Storing water for their home?
Doesn't really store water, but Cookie?
So from the powerhouse, how does it get the electrons?
From the powerhouses, they've got the turbines. So there's a picture that they can show.
There's this thing that it goes through.
What?
Oh yeah, this one.
No, this?
No, that one.
No, how it works. Of course, next one. So here they've got the water that goes down to a turbine, and it spins the turbine, and so the turbine like this. The water comes in like this, spins it, and it goes round and then out. So it goes round and then it drops down, then it goes out.
Thank you.
Madeline?
How long did it take you to make this?
3 or 4 days.
If you walk 24 hours a day.
No. The longest part was the two longest parts were waiting for the phone to drive and the sand. The rest was all just like glued together. Yeah, the paint only takes about 10 minutes to dry.
What?
Just quick drying paint. You just put a thin layer. But when we made it, we thought that this part here would be hard because it would absorb a lot of paint. But when we actually did it, this part here is the hardest because the paint would actually more run off and it wouldn't exactly stick.
It's soft. It is soft. It looks like sponge.
Yeah, it's cracked. The sponge is from the cracks. It's supposed to be it expands. So any other questions?
No.